Oh, what's up, wrestling fans? The Two Bros Wrestling Show coming at you through the magic of professional wrestling. Kevin, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, Doug. Hope you are. Hope that everyone watching us at home is not only doing well, but is ready to talk Revolution, whether you saw it or didn't see it.
Revolution.
That is the main event topic tonight. We're going to go over every match, what we thought, how our predictions turned out. Obviously, we were on last week so that you could watch Revolution. And Doug, I think it ended about 5 minutes ago. So we're
Yes, it did. About 5 minutes ago.
it was a long night, but we will get into every bit of that during our main event. But before we do that,
Let's do it.
let's start us off, as always, with a little news in our opening bell segment. Since our last show, a very scary moment went viral where OVW referee Dallas Edwards had a medical emergency during the main event of OVW's weekly broadcast. It was a
Mhm.
planned spot. It just went horribly wrong. It's a spot we've seen thousands of times. Edwards took a bump when a competitor pulled him in front of a crossbody block being delivered from the top rope. Standard spot, right? In
Mhm.
this instance, Edward was legitimately knocked unconscious and then began seizing. The two wrestlers continued the match, rolled him out of the way while he was seizing. And to be fair, if you've seen the footage, Doug, have you seen the footage? Did you
I have not
happen to
seen.
catch it?
I have heard about this, but I've not seen the footage.
I wasn't sure I wanted to see the footage. If you do
Right.
see the footage, I think you will agree it wasn't immediately clear. He just wasn't selling the bump. So I know a lot of
Gotcha.
people, they've taken a lot of heat OVW has. And part of that is OVW is partially owned by the mayor of Louisville. But even the referee's mother took to local media to criticize the lack of action and the callousness of the match
Uh,
continuing the way it did. But honestly, you look at it and it looks like he's just laying down selling it until he starts to seize. And even that, you're at first like, is he selling it?
I
Um,
see.
yeah, honestly, it's just unfortunate the way that everything happened. But a written response from OVW's Al Snow said that they were looking at new safety measures, but he also rightly pointed out that it is usually the referee who initiates communication in the event of a real medical emergency. But in this instance, the real medical emergency happened to be the referee.
The
And so you're
referee. Yeah.
talking young kids who are just learning, who are used to taking cues from the ref. There wasn't a plan in place for what to do if they were the ones having to call whether or
Right.
not we need to stop this thing. So I guess the good news is that coming out of all of this is Edwards is expected to make a recovery. He suffered a
Yay.
concussion and a brain
Oh.
bleed from taking a
Oh,
cross
no
body
good.
bump. So could have turned
Brain
out a
bleeds
whole
are
lot
no
worse.
joke. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's just a freak accident that you may never see again. So I don't fully blame OVW for not being prepared. I just think it's one of those very unfortunate situations that has a hopefully happy ending with a recovery.
Yeah. Wow.
Moving on to other news, not guilty. That was the verdict this week
Mhm.
for former WWE wrestler Ted DiBiase Jr. In a story we first brought you last year, the son of the Million Dollar Man was facing federal fraud charges in a case that began in 2023. The 13 charges were tied to DiBiase, his involvement in a Mississippi welfare fraud scandal. After deliberation for 4 hours, the jury returned a not guilty verdict on all 13 criminal counts. DiBiase, who is now 43 years of age, would have been facing a maximum sentence of 185 years in federal prison. So obviously, we don't know the
Wow.
merits of this case. Maybe he was truly not guilty. Maybe everyone has a price for the Million Dollar Man. That's all I'm saying.
Well played, sir.
In
Uh,
other news, AEW has launched My AEW, a direct to consumer digital streaming platform for fans outside of the United States and Canada. While fans around the globe can access the AEW Fast channel that is part of this offering, that is known as Watch AEW. Not to get all confusing on you here, there is a paid
wow.
portion, though, of My AEW that is several tiers. One tier, you can watch episodes of Dynamite, Collision, Ring of Honor, so you don't have to use Honor Club. But there is a higher rated tier that includes all that as well as access to the pay-per-views. As I
Uh-huh.
mentioned, this is
But
generally expected to be geared towards international audiences, but I just have to say, if things were happen to go sideways for AEW following this Paramount takeover of Warner Brothers Discovery, it's probably a smart move by Tony Khan to have this platform in place so that he can evolve it as necessary for fans to be able to consume and stream the pay-per-views and other AEW content should things not turn out his way in this
right.
whole new media landscape. To date, WWE's takeover of AAA in Mexico has been fairly drama-free, with very few instances of the U.S. office meddling in local decisions. Of course, this has now changed over the last 2 weeks as AAA star Nino Hamburguesa was released from AAA following a
Uh-oh.
physical altercation caught on tape during an independent booking. It's alleged that he elbowed a fan several times as this fan
Mhm.
was heckling him. It is not clear, though, if the release of Nino was actually dictated by WWE, though reports definitely say it was WWE's influence that prompted the move, because even if it was a local AAA decision, officials say there is a zero tolerance policy for such behavior,
Okay.
and that overall talent conduct and expectations have certainly changed since WWE took over. Basically, they're just as sensitive of disrupting their corporate
Right, right.
interest that
Yeah,
they now, yeah, which I sort of understand. I feel kind of
absolutely.
bad for Hamburguesa, um, because he is 30. He's spent his entirety of his career with AAA. He has been wrestling for them since he was 16 years old. So I don't know
Wow.
what place there is for him in
Man.
wrestling outside of where he was.
Right.
Maybe given some time, they will accept him back, and I kind of hope
Hmm.
so, because I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just a weird way, sad way to go out.
Hmm.
Senator Rhodes. Does that sound good to anyone?
Really? Hmm.
During a
Hmm.
recent What Do You Want to Talk About podcast, Rhodes was discussing Antonio Inoki with his guest Gunther, and Gunther turned the conversation towards Inoki's career in politics, which gave Rhodes the opening to share that he has seriously considered moving into politics when his ring days are done. He said it is on his bucket list. So we know he has Doug's vote, the Cody Mark that he is. But yeah, I mean, stranger things have happened in this world.
Indeed, they have. I mean, maybe a senator with a neck tattoo is exactly what this country needs. Who knows?
I don't think it could hurt. Just all I'm saying.
Good.
Actually, maybe this is a good segue, because don't fear, not politics per se, but yeah, we're going to venture ever so slightly out of our safe pro wrestling bubble to tiptoe into the scary real world for just a brief moment. But WWE's Night of Champions has been scheduled to take place in June
Oh,
in Saudi Arabia. While that is still a few months away, and Lord knows that things can change fast, as have
yep.
all seen, it's still close enough that WWE is already pondering the situation. And according to reports, particularly a report by Fightful, it is right now doubtful at best that this event is going to take place, considering the broadening war that is occurring right now in the Middle East. I know I would not want to send all of my company resources into
No.
a war zone right now, and I'm sure there's not too many men and women of WWE clamoring for this
Right.
to occur. All right, let's all jump back in the bubble.
Yeah.
Congrats to The Miz for being named the host of the rebooted version of American Gladiators. The iconic series, for those of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s, will premiere April 17th on Prime Video, with all episodes available by May 1st. And while Miz is the host, this is far from being the only wrestling connection. Wardlow, Camille, Rick Boogs, Jesse Goddard's, and indie star Jessica Roden are among the 16 gladiators. So we have a lot of wrestlers
Yeah.
involved in this production. Again, premiering the 17th on Prime Video. We have another entrant in the WWE Hall of Fame. This one is slated for the often maligned celebrity wing of the Hall. And our new inductee is none other than NBA star and basketball Hall of Famer Dennis Rodman. So now he's going to be in yet another Hall of Fame. The five-time NBA champ with the Detroit Pistons and the Chicago Bulls was also a member of the NWO back in the 90s. And WCW had 4 pretty high-profile matches. We'll have a lot more to say on Rodman and all of the WWE Hall of Famers in 2 weeks when we present our annual WWE Hall of Fame class analysis. But you'll want to make sure to tune in for that to see exactly what Doug thinks of his worm.
Forgot he was referred to as the worm.
He was the worm.
He was the worm. Only Rodman can go to North Korea, Kevin.
I know, no controversy there at all.
None.
And finally, and I hate this transition, but we do have to end on some sad news because we have lost a legend in the world of pro wrestling. Loverboy Dennis Condrey passed away Friday at the age of 74, a founding member of the iconic Midnight Express. There were several iterations of that team. There's the original that most people don't remember that Dennis was part of, but Dennis's most well-known partner was Beautiful Bobby Eaton. Of course, that was the team managed by Jim Cornette. Condrey and Eaton captured tag gold around the world, including holding the NWA World Tag Team Championships for 7 months back in 1986. Their feud with the Rock and Roll Express redefined tag team wrestling in the era. It actually redefined tag team wrestling in general, as it moved it from being a sideshow to being the main event. It was one of the biggest money-making feuds of that era. They headlined most of these shows. They also had a very memorable feud with another defining team of that era, the Road Warriors. Condrey would eventually depart for the AWA, where he reunited with his original Midnight Express partner, Ravishing Randy Rhodes. They billed themselves as the original Midnight Express, and they were under the management of, you might remember this guy, Paul E. Dangerously. Don't ever know what happened.
Sounds familiar. He had such potential in the business.
I know, man. I don't know how he just dropped off, but that version, the original Midnight Express, did capture the AWA World Tag Team Championships before eventually jumping to the NWA, where they began to feud with the other Midnight Express that was now Beautiful Bobby and Sweet Stan Lane. All told, Condrey would hold more than 50 championships, 50 throughout his career. He was inducted into the NWA Hall of Fame as part of the Midnight Express in 2008, the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2019, but the Midnights, shockingly, are not yet in the WWE Hall of Fame, which is a shame when you consider that Condrey or Eaton, who passed away in 2021 now, are not going to be around to receive this honor. Our condolences to the family, friends, and fans of Dennis Condrey. Doug, I know the era of wrestling you grew up in, being the same as mine. You were watching the same Southern wrestling shows that I did. I know that, like me, you have to have nothing but fond memories of the Midnight Express.
Man, nothing but love for the Midnight Express, and it's a shame that they're not in a Hall of Fame yet. You know.
Yes, I mean, better late than never. But you've waited so long now, you won't have Dennis around. I guess Sweet Stan Lane will accept. And I like Stan. I mean, he was incredibly athletic, and he was great. But maybe it's because I'm older and remember my version of the Midnight Express. When I hear Midnight Express, the first 2 people I think of is Bobby and Dennis, right? Yeah, it's those 2. That is the classic team right there. So let's retroactively, better late than never, WWE, get them in this year. Like, it would be a fitting tribute.
Absolutely.
And with that, it is time to talk AEW Revolution. Doug, we won't go much into the pre-show just to keep our show from going to 6 hours like Revolution really did. Just to surmise that pre-show, though, I will say that we were right on one of those matches, wrong on the other. But, Big Boom won a sloppy tag match.
Sloppy tag match. That's what it should be called. The sloppy tag match with Big Boom.
Nonetheless, it had the crowd into it. The crowd loves Big
Yeah.
Boom. I don't get it. Willow retained her TBS title against Lena Cross in a fine
Hmm.
match. The pre-show ended though with a match that did not itself end during the pre-show. They did that whole thing again where they start it, and then if you want to see how it finishes, you got to order. I
I
actually
do
fine
like.
with that.
I'm fine with that too. I really like that because it rolls right in to things. So I'm good with that. Totally
Is it
good with
also
that.
because it gives you a little bit of those old Sunday Night Heat vibes that WWE used to give us, sort
Yes.
of thing? Like,
Yes.
you order now if you want to see what happens. You better hurry.
Right.
The match there itself, though, was that battle royal um, where Ricochet was defending his title against 21 other
Yes.
guys. We were wrong about Ricochet retaining because we didn't know who the other 21 guys were at the time. Jack Perry is your new champion. He eliminated Ricochet at the very end. Doug, I'm fine for Jack Perry as champion. I think as this point in his career, holding a secondary title like that is good for him. I'm not crazy
Hmm.
about these kind of matches as a way to exchange titles, though. I don't know what you think.
No. No, I'm not crazy about this either, and I do like that at least Ricochet stayed in till the end. For whatever
Yeah,
that's worth. At least he
yeah.
wasn't like bounced out, like in the first like 2 minutes of the match. So, for what that's worth. And it looks like it was for the pregame, it looked like it ran a decent, like 20, 22 minutes, something like that. So
Yeah.
it's all right. And
And that becomes a theme going on for the rest of this, is that there's so many matches on the main pay-per-view and none of them were cheated on time. We start out
yeah.
hot with two
Oh,
teams that
yeah.
have a ton of chemistry. The
Hmm.
pay-per-view proper, if you don't include that pre-show match that bled over, begins with your World Tag Team Championship FTR defending against the Young Bucks.
Hmm.
Um, these are classic rivals. Obviously, they got good chemistry. I very much like the Bucks' use of the actual Young Bucks, and by that I mean the kids and their family for their entrance. I
Yes.
don't know if you
I,
like that or
I,
not.
I did like that. The whole let's bring out the kids. I mean, it's right in their backyard too. So I like that. Which of course that should have told us the Bucks are losing because it's basically
No
their
one wins at
their
home.
hometown. Yeah. So yeah. So there's that. Go
Early
ahead.
on in the match
So,
too, we get some color with Nick Jackson busted open, then Dax shortly
mhm,
following. I guess this is going to be something we should have probably knew would happen early and
mhm.
often in an
Right.
AEW pay per
Yeah.
view. I really thought that one of the better spots in this match was the drop kick senton combo that Nick pulled off. I thought that was great stuff.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
Naturally, a super kick party breaks out. There was a believable near fall when the Meltzer driver was interrupted and turned into a shatter machine, which I also thought was a near fall, but ultimately it was a avalanche shatter
The
machine that
Avalanche Shadow Machine.
finished straight.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, FTR retains, but these two always have. I don't know how many times you run this back that till fans get tired of it, but I'm not tired of it.
Right.
I think it's one of those you're guaranteed that you're going to get a good contest if you put these four in the ring, and this was that.
Absolutely. Such great chemistry between these four guys. Two really amazing tag teams that could have match after match after match. It could be 5-star match, and I think they
Yeah.
definitely pulled off a 5-star match this time around.
And it sets the tone for the rest of the night, gets the crowd hyped
It
right at
really
the
does.
start.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I guess before we move to the next match, we should say that the ending of this one led to the return of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, setting up FTR's next challengers. Soon as they showed up, it
Hmm.
became obvious then also why Young Bucks had to lose this one, because
Yes. The
there's
Bucks had to
not a
lose.
natural, yeah, feud already in place. Are you
Mhm.
excited to see Edge and Christian again, or are you just ambivalent?
You, you know what? I do like Edge and Christian as a tag team. I don't know if Asian Christian now can exist as the Asian Christian as of old because they have such well defined solo characters. Pushing them back into that old ENC of yesteryear. I don't know how that's going to work
Yeah,
while retaining the character,
I
especially with Christian's character. That's that's not necessarily a character who can be a baby face, but they're clearly going to be the baby faces here.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be interesting to see how they walk that tightrope. I will say
Hmm.
that I think at this stage of both men's careers that maybe an Edge and Christian reunion under an AEW banner, which we have not seen yet, makes more sense
Hmm.
than to try to have each of them be singles stars. I think I can accept
Yes.
them more as a legacy tag team out there trying to get one more run in another company.
Yeah, I'm down for it, but I question the character work because Christian's done a lot of character work to put this heel over. I mean, yeah,
A
they could
lot
play
to
the
walk back
tweener.
from.
Yeah, it really is, man. I
Yeah.
mean, but it's wrestling, so who knows? We'll see. We'll see where it goes.
We will see where it goes. The crowd seemed to be giving him some benefit of the doubt in that initial appearance,
Mhm.
so
For sure.
we're a forgiving bunch.
We are.
That takes us to the second match on the pay per view proper, that being Tony Storm against Marina Shafir. This was a hard hitting match. That was overall, I'd say it was fine, but to me, this one would have been a good Dynamite main event in order
Yeah.
to make pay per view more reasonable in length. I would say.
But I'm just noticing the times here. Just looking at notes with times in the matches because you're coming out of the first match about 20 minutes. Timeless Tony and Shafir get about 10. Then you got a 30-minute match. Then you got a short match, long match, short match. Yeah, it kind of starts bouncing back and forth a little bit and until at least the end there.
But you could probably save these 10 minutes and had this match and be just
Yes.
as effective on a Wednesday night or on a Saturday. I will say, though,
Yeah.
to her credit, probably the best match of Shafir's career. I actually thought it was, for what it was, taken on its own terms. It was on the high end for her. Um, I guess the most memorable part of the match itself was the breast bite counter of the mother's milk by Storm.
Hmm.
I mean, that obviously stood out. Really, the reason this one was on the pay per view probably is for what happened post match, and we're going to have a lot of that. By the way, it wasn't just
Yes.
the Edge and Christian. This is a definite theme of
Hmm.
after match angles. Obviously, the
Angles and
most memorable
returns.
part of this whole segment was the match ended and Ronda Rousey made her surprise wrestling return, debuting for AEW despite getting ready to fight a real mixed martial arts bout here in a few months. This obviously got the press that Tony Khan, I'm sure, was looking for because I saw the
Hmm.
only spoiler I had before I saw this because I didn't get to watch last Sunday. The only spoiler I
Right.
knew going in was Ronda Rousey showed up because it was everywhere about Ronda Rousey showing up. You think this
Yeah,
is
it was.
good, Doug?
I think it's good to get eyes on AEW, and I don't think Ronda's going to actually step in a ring or do anything. And I haven't seen, unless I've just completely slept through it and missed it, anything that says Ronda Rousey is all elite. Have not seen that. And with Tony now out, which sounds like it might be indefinitely, I'm not sure if there had some plans there or not. But I think it's good for what it was used for, and Ronda's not going to wrestle anywhere before a real MMA match.
No.
So
No, that's true. Whatever plans they have for her are going to definitely have to wait, maybe for Tony to return, but certainly until after
yes,
Ronda is done with her MMA fight. Takes us to our next contest, and this is where
what's
things
next?
really
Oh
start to
yeah,
cook.
yes,
Man, John Moxley versus
absolutely.
Konosuke Takeshita for the AEW Continental Championship. No time limit. This was a great back and forth match that built momentum as it went. They played up that Mox had won their
Hmm.
first three encounters, that Takeshita took one, and then there was one draw, which is why they had to make this one no time limit situation. After physical wrestling, the story then shifted gears to non-technical brawl. Of course, that benefits Moxley's style, and that's when Moxley begins to concentrate on a cut over
Hmm.
Konosuke's eye. The sequence of exchanging suplexes I thought was very exciting, and this was firing up. This fire up was at the 20-minute mark already.
Oh
Crowd was
yeah, yeah. This
insane.
one. Oh, and all these near falls that start hitting after that, boom, boom, boom. It's so
Yes,
close. Every time it's like, oh no, no,
Mox became the first man ever to kick out of the Raging Fire. Then the pop of Takeshita kicking out of the Death Rider, which that honestly I
Mhm.
thought was it, but the crowd was just eating out of their hands at
Yes.
this point. They only upped the ante though when they did the kick out from the Death Rider from the top rope, which I did truly think was the
Mhm.
finish and wasn't. It
Yes.
ends up ending
Yes.
with Moxley choking him out to retain. So Takeshita has that. He didn't get pinned. He
Mhm.
just ref stoppage, right?
Yep.
The crowd was a little deflated by the ending, but the match itself was outstanding.
Amazing, amazing, amazing match. Absolutely outstanding.
Do you think, though, that at this point, because they did make a big deal of the fact that John had won 3 of the 5, one draw, Konosuke has only had the one win. Do you think that Takeshita needed that win more than Moxley?
I think he may have needed it going in, but by the end of it, I think he came out a winner. I mean, he didn't get the W, but that I think that did so much for Takeshita. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong
Do
about
you think
that.
that we
Maybe time will tell, but
Do you think we talk enough about Takeshita? I mean, he always brings it when we always review him well when we do the pay-per-views. But do you think he gets enough conversation
no,
about being one of the best
he does
wrestlers in the
not.
world? Because
He
he is
really
really one
does.
of the best wrestlers in the world. When you see
Yes,
him perform, he's outstanding.
he absolutely is, and I do not think that we give Takeshita enough. I do not think
Ho-
so at all. Because
Hope,
consistently he turns in like 5-star matches. I mean, he is.
yes, he is one of the best bout machines. Not to take someone else's
Yes,
moniker, but I
right,
mean, it's
right.
pretty much a
No, you're right.
guarantee. Like it's Will Brave, Kyle Fletcher situation. Like he's one of those guys. If he's in the match, Swerve Strickland, one of those AEW guys that this has
Hmm.
a chance to, at the very least, be 4-star. We might see a classic.
Yes,
Um, the fact that we've mentioned it in the first 2 contests, keeping up with the pay per view theme of post match returns. We just
right.
mentioned him. Will Ospreay came back to a surprise Mox, so obviously that is where Mox is headed to. Hopefully, Takeshita is headed to someplace high up on the card. I would love to see him get in the AEW World Title mix because I think he's earned that.
So, do you think that this, because Mox has been, I don't know, not the baby face, but not the Mox of old. Now we've got Will Ospreay back, so clearly we're getting babyface heel action here.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, how does this work too? I mean, I'm confused by booking. I know it's wrestling and people can shift alignment with like the wind really at times, but I don't know how this one's working either. Just like Christian being a babyface in an FTR cage, cope cage, whatever they call themselves, and now you've got this Mox and Osprey with his Weapon X return there. And really, I think I heard Jim Cornette say this: "Would you really trust that doctor with your health?" That was in that video. It looks kind of
Oh, that's
shady,
hilarious.
man.
I mean,
But
I get it. We've been 20 years really in wrestling since we've had the clear good guys and bad guys. There's so
yeah,
much gray, so many tweeners, and to an extent, it's understandable, and to an extent, it works. I do think that even more though than WWE, AEW definitely has that problem of not always defining if their characters are heels or faces, and yeah, they
yeah.
I'm not sure exactly where Mox is in the on that spectrum right now.
I mean, Mox, I said it a long time ago. The time, I don't know where that was. A long time ago, when we first saw AEW in Charleston, there was a Dynamite, and Mox comes out, and it was like he has that Stone Cold energy. He has the fans. He is that classic badass, not necessarily that badass tweener, not the good guy, not the bad guy. But so many characters in AEW are
Are
that
doing that.
that tweener, and I'm not sure I like that. I need some good guys and I need some bad guys.
It works for Moxley. There are characters it works for, but
Hmm.
it
Yeah,
has less
absolutely.
impact for guys like Moxley when everyone else is doing the gimmick too. It's like that
Yes,
problem
yeah,
back in the old NWO days when they started getting the cheers and things, and then everybody wanted to be the cool heel, and no one wanted to be the despicable
right.
heel anymore.
And that's another thing too. It works better with Mox and any character when it's a solo act, not when you've got a whole stable behind you to back it up at any given time. So there's
Yeah,
that too.
yeah, absolutely. Moving to our next match, we
Oh yeah.
have Megan Bain and Lena
Oh
Cross
yeah.
versus the Babes of Wrath for the tag team championships here. The story of this match was honestly the pre-show. The fact that Willow
Yeah.
had currently suffered an injury moments before this pay-per-view started during her TBS title match when she
Hmm.
defeated Cross. So now Cross is out for revenge with a partner. The injury was exploited by the two larger competitors for what ended up being almost a squash match, really. It
Hmm.
should be noted, though, that
Short.
Willow and Harley were the inaugural champions. So this means that this is the first ever title change of the AEW women's tag titles.
Hmm.
There wasn't much to this other than the story. I am fine, honestly, though, for Megan and Lena Cross to hold the titles because even though the Babes of Wrath have been a lot of fun, Bane and Cross look like two people that you shouldn't be able to beat.
Yes. Yes. Agreed. 100%.
Yeah, it's kind of like the
100%.
WWE version of Jade and Bianca when they were together. You just think, who's
Hmm.
going to stop these two women? Like, no one. That's what
Yes.
AEW has here. So I don't blame them for going that direction.
And they have such a cool tag team name. I mean,
Yeah,
Divine Dominion.
yeah, that's true. It is good.
Yeah.
And they feel
Yeah.
like a true tag team, which is something that it's nice to start seeing in women's wrestling and not just
Yes.
two women that
Here's
they've
two
put together.
random women. Yeah, we're gonna smush them together and see what happens.
Yeah, they're doing a much better job with their women's division in general, the
Hmm.
tag team division in specifics. Our next match was a great one, and that was two guys you would expect
Yeah.
to do a great one. Swerve Strickland
Hmm.
versus Brody King. This got off starting fast with King exploiting his size and strength advantage
Yep.
as he should. Dude may have the hardest chops this side of Gunther. I'm just saying that
Oh man.
it's painful even for the viewer to see Brody King chop a man.
Hmm. Brody's such a big dude too. I mean, not like Brian Cage, like muscular dude, but he's just like a big old hoss in the
He's a big
ring.
old hoss.
I mean,
Yeah,
he just
like
is,
an old
and he's
school
covered it.
Hanson type, like just a big old
Yes, yes,
yeah.
just a big dude. I mean, and now Swerve's not a small guy himself, but
No, no.
put him in there
The
with
first
Brody, and wow,
the first big spot of this one was the house call Swerve pulled out early to the side of Brody's head, which oohed and awed the crowd. I mean, then that it deservedly so. That inverter
mhm,
breaker on the floor also looked devastating. It was a third
yes,
house call that finally took King out, but King acquitted himself extremely well against the former world champion here. Doug,
hmm,
I don't know what you thought of this one, but I thought this was a great match. I hated to see either man lose because I'm a fan of both, and I kind of feel like both need to be in the conversation of upward mobility at this point to the
yes,
top of the
yes.
card. Someone had to lose, unfortunately, but I don't think Brody lost a lot by losing to a a known main eventer and former champion like Swerve Strickland, who is clearly on his way back to the main event.
I agree with that. And this, after like it was almost like that come down squash match right before this with the female tag teams, and now the business just starts picking up again.
Yeah, oh
Right.
yeah. Um, Again with the theme though, this great match was followed by
Well,
a
yeah.
post-match return of Kenny Omega to save Brody from getting a cinder block to the head, which I'm sure he appreciated. No one wants a cinder block to the head.
No, but if anybody could take it, well, other than Swerve, it would be
Yeah,
Brody.
it's true. But Kenny is back, so I'm guessing that is the where Swerve Strickland goes next, and one of those two men will be your future opponents for the world champ, which we will not get into until we get to that match. No
Right,
spoilers
right,
there
right.
just yet.
Yes, not yet, not yet.
Uh, Next, we have the women's title up in a 2 out of 3 falls match. We had Tekla defending that belt against former champ Chris Statlander. Tekla took the first fall by grabbing the top rope, but it went to go towards what we were criticizing last week when we said on the show that the
Right.
problem with 2 out of 3 fall matches is that first fall ends up usually coming unnaturally soon, and the whole grab the rope finish 3 or 4 minutes into this is a great example of that being the
Hmm.
case.
Yes.
Did you notice though that the crowd seemed to be a little pro Tekla despite her being the heel?
Yes. Yes, I did. And it's because of those insane promos that she cuts. Oh,
Yeah. um,
but
I
yeah,
did it
yeah.
was at least thought. You go ahead.
I was just going to say this whole, hold on, I'm completely discombobulated because I'm having some technical difficulties.
It's all
There we
right.
go. So the hold on, sorry, technical difficulties. I really wonder about this whole Statlander thing and Tekla because I don't know. My wife was watching this, and I think you heard some of her conversations earlier about like the D team. She wasn't real impressed with either one of these gals,
Yeah.
and I do like Tekla. I do like Statlander, but overall, when we look at the larger female picture, Tony's out now, which Tony's the heart and soul of the
Yeah.
AEW
Of that
Women's
division.
Division. You
Right.
know, no Britt Baker anywhere in sight. No, I mean, how long has Britt been off TV? Yet she's still contracted with AEW. Uh, I don't know. I don't know where the women's division goes yet now. I mean, maybe it's an
Well,
opportunity for people to step up. Maybe it's not that opportunity for Tekla to step up since, even though she's the heel, folks were behind her.
I am like you. I like both these women. There was some things about like again the first fall came too quick. I liked seeing Statlander ping ponging Tekla into the outside barrier. I thought that that was a innovative spot. It was a tombstone pile driver that evened things up at 1-1, but almost immediately into that third and deciding fall, we get a ref bump with his belt being taken off of him. Statlander intercepts it, uses it to take the hide off Tekla. Basically, she gets that visual fall, and then was taken out by the other sisters of sin who naturally get involved with the ref down. So this was the distraction that led to the interference. After a couple of stomps, I thought that the ending was a little anticlimactic for the tension of the title for Tekla. The whole thing took less than 18 minutes. Three
Right.
falls in 18 minutes, which makes the decision to have it a 2 hour, 3 falls to begin with feel unnecessary. So
Why?
this one
Yeah.
actually fell a little flat for me.
Yeah. Do you think this got a little overbooked with the bump and the interference, or
If you were going
just
to do that in 18 minutes of time to keep the belt on Tekla, do it in 12
right?
minutes and make it a standard 1 fall match. Something
Yes.
about this didn't click. And I do think it's they painted themselves into a corner with the stipulation, and that warrants an epic contest where they go 45 minutes
Yes.
until both women, somebody comes in that third fall to exhaustion. The stipulation actually worked against this match for me.
Hmm. Yeah. Ah.
That takes us to the trios title match where we had Kyle Fletcher, Mark Davis, and Kazuchika Okada versus Jet Speed and Mystico. The faces all came out in mask, but can we? I'm sorry, I like him too, but can we all maybe admit that Mystico's ballad makes for a weird entrance song? Something about the
Mhm.
low energy, traditional Mexicana, like it just
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a weird entrance song. Entrance songs are like high energy or I don't know.
Especially
But the
with
crowd sings it.
coming out with jet speed. Come on.
The Jet Speed were on Ambien for the entrance with that song. Um, Things picked up quickly though. After the song kind of sedated everyone,
Uh huh.
obviously these six are going to go warp speed. Not much time to sell in these multi-person matches. It ends up being
No.
just chaos, which is kind of what I don't like about him. The bad guys got heat pretty fast though when Fletcher used Mystico's mask on his crotch. There was a beautiful shooting star for a near fall by Speedball. And then Mark Davis took it from a high flying match. He started using his strength to take out guys. He's one who honestly has raised in esteem in my eyes. I used to not
Hmm.
think a whole lot of him, but over the last month or so, Uh, you mentioned
Yes.
it earlier by calling Brody King a Hoss-like character. Mark Davis now
Well,
comes
yeah,
across like a
Davis is
Hoss-like
absolutely,
character that
absolutely.
just hits hard. Yeah, we get a flurry of moves by the faces to end this thing, with Kevin Knight traveling, 8 billion feet across the entire arena to deliver that unique spinning UFO splash to crown new trios champions. Um, After this, though, we get the word that Mystico is all elite, which I kind of assumed he already was, but apparently he wasn't.
It's weird because Mystico is like, I guess, dual contracted. It seems like
Yeah,
AEW is building in CMLL or building layers to keep people from AAA and WWE. Now it's
yeah.
like, okay, now you're dual contracted.
And it even goes the other way, where AEW stars are doing the same thing because I read that Claudio is now dual contracted.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so it's not just trying to lock up the Latin talent either. So,
Uh-huh.
as for this match, Doug, I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm fine for there being new champions. It was exciting because
Hmm.
all these guys can go. Um, it could have been somewhere else if they did, wanted to save some time. They just chose not to, but it was fine.
Yeah, and it's a way to say Kazuchika Okada is on our pay-per-view too. So
It's true. He was. Bandito versus
oh
Andrade
man.
is our next match, which was an amazing display of agility and speed that kept things even Steven for a
Yes.
good portion of the start of this. As strange as it sounds, the first sustained momentum of this came when Bandito tried to take off his pants, but was unable to get his pants off cleanly. I don't know if
This
that was
was so,
supposed to be the comical section or if that was just happenstance. It
although
looked legit.
it looked legit, and the fact that Andrade, nails him with like a shoulder tackle while he's doing it because he's like, okay, this is going on. Andrade, the consummate professional, going, okay, we need to do a little something here. I'm the heel. I can get away with this, and it'll give the guy a minute to maybe even roll out of the ring and get this taken care of.
I know the fact that we didn't know does show that they, covered for it very well if it was not planned.
Mhm.
There was a very nice sequence where Andrade ends up being German suplexed into that bottom turnbuckle that looked like it hurt. It was a wild
Yeah.
looking rolling heel kick by Bandito to get Andrade in the
Yes.
back of the head, that just reverberated. And that was followed up by a 21 plex from the mat. Andrade was still on the mat when he did that 21 plex, which was amazing. In the end, it
Yes.
was Andrade with the reverse elbow and then his top rope neck breaker. I love both these men. I thought these guys
Mm.
did an amazing job, especially at this point in the card when they're not expected to steal the show. There's no title on the line, but they held their place on the card and managed to make it memorable.
Yes, they did. This was another great match on this card.
And you're getting a theme of that too, because honestly, there was way more good than bad on this card, including this next match, which honestly didn't need to be here, but can't say it wasn't entertaining.
Yeah,
That
you're
was
right. It really did not need to be here, but
This is another
here it
example of
was.
one that could have been a main event that would have been a fine main event on Dynamite or Collision, and you'd
Yeah.
been saved yourself 20 minutes. Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, Roderick Strong against the Dogs. Gabe Kidd, Clark Connors, Dave Finlay in a tornado tag match. I thought all WWE matches were tornado matches, but it
Well, this
sometimes
is
feels that
so
way.
true. Yeah, these AEW tour. Yeah, it's everything. It's all in.
Yeah, like I
Literally
never think
all in.
there's rules to most of these when
What
multi-person
are the
matches,
rules?
especially. To me, though, this was also an example of maybe the odd booking when it came to this sequencing this pay-per-view. There's no reason for this match to be the semi-main event spot. Um,
Was this you think this was the come down match? After that,
it's an
especially
odd,
after
yeah,
Andrade and Bandito with that amazing display of wrestling. You got this match, and I don't know. I mean, it was another short match, like
yeah.
12, 13 minutes, something like that. So
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was meant to be the come down match. Obviously, it was a spot fest when it's a tornado tag with all these guys involved. So it wasn't like it was,
Yeah.
a match where people, go get popcorn, run to the restroom. It was a
So,
lot
yeah.
happening here. Connors did an impressive feat of diving through the ropes to hit a spear and intercepting Darby Allen, and that got some oohs and ahs to the crowd. At one point, Darby gets himself attached to the turnbuckle for a long period of time until Horn saves him by cutting him free. In the end, the faces win. I think this was overall um, maybe an unnecessary match, but that is only because of the length of the show. I'm not going to lie that it was and say it wasn't entertaining, because I was not bored during this match.
Yeah. Yeah. You were so right about that. But I think that I don't know. It's probably the best thing to go between these two matches, the one that came before and the one that came after it. But I don't know. I think you needed something, knowing what was
Something
coming
new.
with, yeah, knowing a Hangman, Texas Death Match. We've seen this before with Hangman.
Well,
MJF can always step up. We know this. So maybe we just need to mentally prepare ourselves.
I don't know that there's any mental preparing for this next match we're about to
To,
talk about, Doug. So let's get into this one, because I know this is going to take some time. It being our main event, you set it up. Texas Death AEW World Title match. MJF champion against Hangman Page. If Page loses, he can never challenge for the championship again. Let's take it from the top. MJF with a pretty great Western parody to set up his entrance. Um, and then let's give him bonus points as well for the Terry Funk gear, which was
yes,
fantastic.
yes, the Burberry Funk.
Oh,
I
it was
mean, come
good
on.
stuff. Didn't take long for them to take this one to the crowd or for MJF to begin bleeding. This just we had no idea what was to come.
So,
He was just bleeding from his mouth
so quickly going to the crowd. It's like, already you
quickly.
guys are hitting the crowd this quickly?
You
Come
would never have
on.
thought that it would go as long as it did, considering how quickly that started. We get paper
Mm-mm.
cuts next, though, for the big spots. Birthday card on MJF's 30th birthday. It then
Yes.
gets staple gun to his chest. And of course, it's an AEW crowd. They begin a happy birthday chant, which of course they do. Um,
Of course they do.
MJF thought he got rid of a window pane so that it couldn't be used by smashing it up, which of course just puts glass and shards all in the ring.
Mhm.
No one enjoyed that though more than Tony Schiavone when it backfired and MJF got dragged through the glass. I thought Tony was about to have a conniption of joy
Yes.
there. We throw in a little barbed wire. MJF is the first to show significant color, and I do mean significant color.
This was
Momentum
like
shifted
Stone
though.
Cold Steve Austin, like
Oh
the
yeah, just
Crimson
pouring.
Mask. Yes.
MJF used a shard of glass to start Hangman's night of bleeding, and then dragged him through
Nice.
the glass that remained in the center of the ring. At least it did until MJF helpfully played the role of janitor with the
I
push
love
broom.
this. My favorite spot of the night, MJF getting a push broom from underneath the ring, not to initially assault Hangman or anything like that, but to clean up all the broken glass and get it out of the ring. Favorite
Yeah,
spot of the night right there.
it, in a match could use a little bit of levity, that was the levity, because what happens next is one of the more cringe things I think I've seen in a ring occur, and that's when MJF gets a syringe out of a bag, a rather large syringe, fish hooks Hangman Page, puts the syringe in his mouth, and
Mm.
yes, clear through the jaw. And as Doug, as you and I, when we talked about this earlier, you noted it just to show the crowd who maybe couldn't see the close up that we were seeing at home, just to show it was through the jaw. He decided to, make sure that it
Hit the,
ejected so that you could see the liquid coming out.
you see the liquid, the saline or whatever it is, just shooting out the
Ah,
side of this. But then it gets even worse, in my opinion, because Hangman gets up with it dangling in his mouth, still sticking through his jaw,
yes.
and they exchange punches. And I'm
Oh,
just like, oh, can we just go back to Ronda Rousey showing up or something? Let's talk about that instead of this nonsense, because people are going to talk about this nonsense.
that was hard to
And
watch. That really was hard to watch. And then, of course, that was hardly the end of the brutality. We get MJF slamming
Oh,
Hangman into a barbed wire wrapped chair. Hangman
mm,
obviously got up at that point in time before the 10 count. He would retaliate by a reverse tombstone into the same barbed wire chair and then would later pummel MJF with that barbed wire chair. Hangman with a jumping reverse tombstone through a table on the outside. That looked incredibly dangerous for both guys. It did get an "This is awesome" chant, which for the most part the crowd was into this, but I think at times we're almost watching through their fingers in
yes.
fear. We get another jumping tombstone on the other side of the ring through a table. This time Hangman got the worst of that one with MJF delivering that one. Then we ramp it up with dueling light tubes that ended up with Hangman coming out on top of that. That was obviously real glass when you saw it sticking out of MJF's back
Oh
because he
yeah.
was
I mean,
gushing blood.
you can't like sugar glass those like you did the window pane earlier. I mean, that's
Yeah,
just spun sugar glass. So I mean, that's stuntman stuff right there. But those light tubes,
it is light
those are
tube.
light tubes. I mean, it's like we're watching a GCW match there at points.
It was. It absolutely was. Um, honestly, this transitions into a dog collar match because well, after I guess I forgot to mention the skewers that get stuck in MJF's forehead, making him look like a porcupine. He got up for the count of 10 of that one, but then Hangman goes dog collar, ties them both up. Um, the crowd then wants fire, which is honestly, I'm glad they didn't get it. It was a bit ridiculous after
Yeah,
everything else we had already seen. The last thing we needed is these guys setting each other
yeah,
on
we do not
fire.
need fire. No.
Um, Instead, they got Hangman thrown through a barbed wire board. He beat the 10 count there. It almost seemed like the end when they took to the stage and went through a little more of a contrived spot where
Mhm.
they obviously had it set up. The standard spot we've seen 1,000 times where you go through equipment and they rig up these
Yeah,
explosions to make it. I don't like those so well
no.
because of just how contrived they look. I'm glad that wasn't the end. They got up before 10. It did give us the opportunity, though, for Hangman to lead MJF back to the ring like a dog, which was a very memorable part of this.
Mhm.
The end seemed at hand when Hangman set up for that buckshot, and I thought, okay, here's how it
Mhm.
ends.
Here we go. Yeah.
Instead, MJF countered and hung Hangman over the top rope, where Hangman then goes unconscious. When he lets Hangman go, Hangman crashes into the. I don't know if he did that on purpose. If not, it was fortuitous. If so, it was well done. But Hangman's limp body drops and hits a cameraman so perfectly that you can see through it barely the blood that is left on the lens of the camera
Mhm.
as Hangman is counted out and can never again the you know go for the AEW championship. I don't know how you. This was 46 minutes, so it was
Yeah.
long, violent spectacle of the highest order, just drama to the nth degree. It was good. I don't know how else to say it, but whether it is or is not your kind of thing, this was really good.
See, that's just the thing. Every time we talk about an AEW match like this, I talk about how I do not like them, but how amazing they always are. And this, again, I do not like this crap, this garbage wrestling that, John Moxley has been, was known for the longest time. He seems to have shifted from like these bloody spots to more of a strong style thing, right? At least right now. But Hangman has become that Terry Funk character within AEW, the deathmatch guy. And then here comes MJF to get a piece of it now. And like you
It,
say,
yeah,
if it's not it was still good, really
it was
good.
good. And both men just worked so hard in this. I know they both needed medical attention afterwards. I'm also sure that the medics had to attend to John Moxley, probably for an erection
Mhm.
lasting longer than 4 hours after he viewed this match. Come
Poor
on.
Renee.
He loved it. He was all they could do to hold him from running out and just, rolling around in the light tube or something. Yeah.
He
Um,
probably booked the whole thing. He's like, okay, and then you're going to do this, and you're
that
going to take the needle and
is
just jab it.
Oh, I'm sure there's spots he wish he was in there for.
Right?
They worked like an incredibly memorable match. No matter how you view it, it was a memorable match, and kept it
Mhm.
off in the grandest of styles. A great pay per view overall. With that being the end of our formal review of Revolution, let's get into our big finish. And Doug, for botch of the week, I'll just start by saying the obvious, and it's something I've mentioned time and time again, probably will every time it does this, but the length of show. If you included the pre-show, it was 5.5 hours. I guarantee you, night one of WrestleMania will not go 5.5 hours. And this was not a big, it was not their biggest show of the year by any means. 5.5 is just too long.
I will say this for an AEW show, we always joke that they're ridiculously long. I do think they are too long. I think Tony could learn something from Triple H about having a nice, crisp pay per view. Kudos for him to wanting to get as many of his wrestlers out there as
Yeah.
possible. But I will say, I think this was a pretty crisp 5.5 hours, all things
If it's
said.
possible.
If at all possible. I mean, the flow and the pacing was better than some AEW pay-per-views in the past that literally feel like they're still on right now and haven't finished yet.
Yeah.
For me, it's another criticism of AEW and their production though, because I'm not sure how you watched it, but I watched it through HBO, and everything, I think somebody forgot to tell the staff that everything needs to be on like a 7 to 14-second delay or whatever, because the audio was lagging about
Yeah.
7 to 10 seconds, and it so took me out so many times that I had to piecemeal and watch this match by match in pieces throughout the week just so I could digest it all, because it was so annoying to me. And coming from a production background, I'm like, this should have been fixed. This should have been, it should not be like this. It's just, that's my botch right there. Just the production and poor quality of the audio. And really, I never noticed how much the audio, the fan pops, not so much the commentary, but the commentary very much so when you're lagging 10, 14 seconds behind, whatever it was, it takes a lot out. The lights go out, and then like 10 seconds later, you've got Excalibur going, oh, and the lights went out. It's just,
Honestly, that it is fair that AEW, for all the extra money they got on the contract that they were supposed to pour in production, it isn't always apparent that they have.
yes.
Yeah. Performance of the week. I'm going to venture away from AEW for just a second. I'm going to get back
All
to
right.
it, but my
You're good.
performance of the week, I wanted to call out somebody who I had as my botch of the week the last time we met, and
Oh,
performance of the week I'm giving to CM Punk and Roman Reigns for course correcting and owning that segment on Raw. They were taking work shoots at each other. These were digs that I know they probably approved beforehand
right.
with one another and the writers, but they were real enough and ow enough. I mean, the Samoan that I actually do respect named Joe, all that stuff. Just it was good, and without having to go too much into the dead father thing that made me
Mm,
not like it. I thought this was a good course correction that had the crowd hyped for both guys. Both guys were getting
right.
cheered for this, and that bodes very well for it doesn't really matter who the face or heel is in the main event of
Exactly.
Mania. The fans are really into these two guys and these two guys against each other. It'll be a 50-50 split. It'll be a hot way to end. This really bode well for that main event.
See, and that's a good point right there. It kind of brings back around because it brings it full circle where WWE can course correct and they can recognize, and their characters are built in such a way where, like you said, it doesn't really matter who's the heel, who's the baby face. People are behind both these guys, and you can have that. Not necessarily in AEW. It's a bigger struggle in AEW to reach that level, but that's
It
neither
is.
here nor
Yeah, you're
there.
right.
Yeah. So, but performer, I've got to give it to Takeshita because I think he turned in an amazing performance last week at Revolution. Needs to be recognized for it. And like I say, I don't think he was really hurt by the loss. Yes, he could have definitely used the win, but I still think he got a win in a way here by just going so hard with Mox and being able to stand toe to toe with Mox and those those false finishes near the end. That puts a lot of worth on him, I think.
In the next year and a half, if he does not get a run as AEW World Champion, I think Tony Khan is missing the opportunity.
Agreed.
He's
so
that
much.
good.
Yeah.
This last one, Doug, we may be able to do a two for here because I can't imagine that you're going to see it too much different than me. But match of the week?
So this one, it's that garbage I hate, man. It's that.
Yeah.
I mean, every time you would think, I am glued to, death matches. And, well, there was a time I went through a death match phase, but those Japanese death matches with Terry Funk and Mick Foley, just because of the sheer spectacle of it. But in 2026, I don't want to see a guy get stabbed through the cheek with a syringe. Yet, I've got to say, it was the best match. It was the match of the week for me, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Probably,
just for
say like it. I don't know how you couldn't have that as your match of the week. There's a lot to be said about whether or not an orgy of violence to this degree has a place in modern wrestling. I think that's very reasonable debate. What is hard to debate is just how memorable this match was, how incredibly physical it was, and just how invested all in attendance were, despite how long they'd all been sitting there and how long this match was. As much as I may want to give my match of the week to one of the more traditional contests, there was some great ones on Revolution and throughout the week that fit that technical mark. You just have to acknowledge the performance of MJF and Hangman here. Just have to.
You absolutely, because Bucks FTR, absolutely. Yeah, Andrade Bandito, yes, please. Mox Takeshita, yes, all three of them strong contenders. If we're just looking at Revolution, not a technical match, not. I don't want to call it a garbage match because I feel that's offensive to the men involved every time they go out and do stuff like this. But that's all I think of with this stuff. But I don't like it. But once again, it was the best thing. It really was.
Yeah, it's memorable. You'll always remember that when people talk Texas death matches, that is in the conversation as one of the best ever. Whether or not it's your cup of tea, it is Doug and I agreeing on this as our match of the week. What did you all think? Was there a match you liked better, or you just are done with these type of gory violence orgies that AEW likes to put on at the end of their pay-per-views with a pool of blood left in the ring? Let us know in the comments.
Let us know.
Certainly fair to say you've seen enough of that. What you haven't seen enough is wrestling, and that is enough of the Two Bros Wrestling Show, as we will be back next week. Before we go into All Mania all the time and get into the home stretch, we have one more non-Mania broadcast for you before we go full gear into WrestleMania season. And that is next week. We are providing our picks for the Mount Rushmore of Wrestling Female Edition. If you joined us a couple months back when we did this for the men, it will be interesting to hear who your picks are. And Doug, I mean your picks as well as the people at home. Come play with us. We want to hear who your picks are for the greatest female wrestlers in history that belong on our female Mount Rushmore. That's next Sunday if you're watching us live, anytime on demand here on the channel. Until then,
go watch some wrestling. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.